Welcome to the Selling in the Motor Trade podcast, in association with Simco Training. This is the weekly podcast where we share best practice, tips and ideas on how to sell more cars, improve your service department, and generally put more profit into your dealership or dealer group. I'm your host, Simon Bowkett. Now, some of you probably already know me as Skippy. I would start by saying thank you for taking the time to listen to this podcast. Hi, and welcome to another episode of Selling in the Motor Trade. Today, I'm joined by Ashley Wiltshire, and I love these ones because I'm speaking to another trainer, and it always fascinates me why someone like you and I, Ashley, do what we do, okay, and what we put ourselves through and all of that. And I'm always keen to find out how people do things differently to what we do. So, Ashley, welcome along to the podcast.
Thank you, Simon. Great to see you. And looking forward to our chat this morning.
Well, listen, we need to start off by saying, tell me, how did you start in the motor trade? Let's go right back to a young Ashley. Tell us about your journey to the motor trade.
Crikey, Simon, I was hoping you wouldn't ask me to date that, but look, I'm a huge ambassador for the motor trade. And the reason being, after education, I needed a job, and I literally walked into a dealership in Aylesbury Bucks called Dutton Foreshore, which I'm sure some of the more mature people who enjoy your podcast will remember that business. And I asked the dealer principal for a job, you know, the classic, got any jobs going, mister? And I was very fortunate as a manager, as a dealer principal as he was. He gave me a job in the parts department, Simon. So there you go. I started off picking parts for things like Austin Allegros and Morris Marinas and Metros, and some of those products that will take people back down memory lane back in the late 80s.
The late 80s. Well, that was in Aylesbury, did you say?
Correct, yeah, Aylesbury, Buckinghamshire, yeah.
Well, when I first came over in '95 from Australia,
okay,
I was based in High Wycombe, so not too far from there at all.
No, High Wycombe.
It was Evans Walshaw I started working for, but the original Evans Walshaw, not when Pendragon took them over there. So I kind of know that area quite well there.
Mate, we've shadowed each other our whole careers, Simon. There you go.
It's something like that. Yeah, definitely. So you started in the parts department. So from parts then into the sales side of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I won't forget my first week in parts. I loved it. And there was this really mature gentleman in the parts department. It was the classic brown coats in parts and kind of the pens in the top pocket.
Yes,
and
I got
he said to me, he said, "Oh, I tell you what, young man," he said, "parts ain't what they used to be." and that's when I thought, oh, well, I wonder what they used to be like. And that's where I got my first glimpse of, you know, attitude is the destiny that takes you anywhere.
That's really so true. Even back then, parts are not what it used to be. This place is changing. It's quite funny. I can remember in Townsville, North Queensland, even back then, I had the negative old salesperson saying, "Oh, we'll be a thing of the past soon. They won't be needing us."
Absolutely.
I mean, and that was 33 years ago. And the other thing I want to pick up on that, does this happen enough? You just walked into a dealership, and I've got to say, I don't know if I see enough of that anymore. People that put a suit on, walk into the dealership, knock on the doors, and say, "Hey, I want to speak to the manager there." I think it tells you something about your attitude, wanting a job, not just. Does it happen enough nowadays? I'm not sure if it does.
I would echo that with, you know, technology, applying for jobs online, these wonderful platforms that we have available to us has taken some of that, you know, boots on the floor activity away. But, you know, if I was a hiring manager, I'd be delighted if someone took that gump and walked in. So, you know, maybe we should be talking more about that at some point in the future.
I think so. So this always separates the real motor traders. Do you remember the first car you sold?
I do, yes. And it was a Mini Cooper. I'll never forget it, to a lovely couple when it was in Dutton Foreshore Rover back in Aylesbury. I think it was on a Sunday, if I remember correctly. And they was just so overjoyed to be ordering, you know, their new car. And that was on that was after parts department when I moved into sales. So I'm going to say crikey, late 80s. Yeah, I think it was F-Reg, if I remember, which, again, your more mature viewers will relate to the registration marks of those days.
It's going to age us both, I think.
I know, mate. I know.
It's definitely going to do that. So tell me, when you were selling then, any days that really stood out for you? Anything they said, this is why I love the motor trade? What was it? Were you car or people? Some people love the car side of it. Some people love the people side of it. What was it for you?
Sure. Well, I guess honestly, it was the people. I enjoyed working with people, as clearly you and I both do. Otherwise, we wouldn't be in our careers. And it was the people. And we didn't live in a world like we have today, where you had all that access to information. A lot less manufacturers in the UK, of course, a lot less dealerships in each town. So you know, you wasn't so much focused, or certainly I wasn't so much focused on the individual brand that you worked with. It was probably more location, to be fair. But working with people, seeing their smiles on their faces when they're ordering their new vehicles or buying an approved used car. You know, and I won't forget once, it was a clear memory of mine. It was a used Rover 827 Vitesse. Now, that was quite a car in its day.
Yeah.
I think it had the Honda V6 engine in it. He was a gentleman in the RAF. He was the customer, and he bought the car. And I was presenting him the warranty, the extended warranty on it. In those days, you remember, they had 12 months manufacturer's warranty. So it was the top-up warranty. And I won't forget, the cost of this warranty was like £1,800.
Wow. And this is back in late 80s, early 90s.
Absolutely. It was a G-Reg, so 1990, a red one. I can see it in my head today.
Yeah.
It was it was called The Mechanic, was the name of the warranty. And we had like an A5 presenter that we used to show them what was covered. And in my head, I was going, no customer's going to buy this. But I had such a sharp manager that if I didn't present it, I'd have been in deep water. Yeah. So I presented this warranty and the customer bought it. And I never forget that moment. And, you know, we look at some of those value-added products today and, you know, they perceived expensive. But it came down to this individual recognizing, you know, a window motor might fail on this car here, or an ABS module here, or an ECU here, whatever it was. And he's had his money back. So that was a big point for me to remember, that, yeah, people, great working with people, but also you've got to have the right products.
But what about that? So many times don't you hear sales people and also after sales managers, or service advisors, making the decision for the customer? Sure. Okay, thinking, oh, they spend enough money servicing their car. Okay, their tires, they've got 3 mils on it, they're going to be fine. And it's just, that story for me just sums up, just offer and let the customers decide.
Sure.
There's a guy called Gary Peters told me many years ago. He said, it's just like going to McDonald's. You wind your window down. They can have a big meal. Yeah. And they turn around to every single person and say, certainly, do you want to go? Large. But just offer it to every single person. And how many people get offended by it? If they don't, they don't say, no, I don't. I'm off to Burger King. Shove the burger up your bum. They just offer. And that story for me, 1800 back in the late 80s, early 90s was a lot of money, but it was presented. Sure. Customers,
yeah.
So it happens so much, doesn't it?
Absolutely, Simon. And yeah, you got to do it. And if you don't get presented those value-added products, those additional products, you know, I'd be thinking, well, this is just a Magnolia experience, right? Yeah. Why am I not getting the potential frills and the bits that package my experience, that make my ownership experience a lot better? So I think there's a huge negative of not offering the customers the products. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right. So my understanding is you've gone from sales and you spent a lot of time in the F&I role. Did you start in the same dealership as a business manager?
I kind of did, actually. Yeah, it was through a company called Pat Ryan Associates, who are recognized as the first business managers in the UK from from Chicago in America, where they came to the UK in the late 80s. So I joined Pat Ryan Associates as one of what they called their specialist business managers. So you'd go around the UK reproving the concept of F&I sales, where programs weren't working, or it failed, or indeed it was a new business manager opening. And I think it was 6, 93 to 99, really happy years with that company. And I kind of thank them incredibly, because they really invested in their people, Simon. You started on a 2-week F&I course to become a business manager. It's just not heard of in today's world.
No.
So that was really strong start. And as a young man, that's just what I needed. I needed training. Might have had a good spirit about me, but we needed professional training, and that's what Pat Ryan, which latterly became Aon Corporation, did. So yeah, 6 happy years with them. Really, really good times. Really happy.
It's so true about that 2-week course to be an F&I, a business manager. Does it happen anymore? And also, I just want to ask you, if you've gone to lots of different places,
Yeah.
you've seen the good, the bad, and the ugly. So I just want to ask you, what made, when you walked into a business, what made a good business manager? What were some of their character traits? What were some of their processes?
Well, intangible products, I mean, it's well read, well referenced that intangible products are more difficult to sell than tangible products because you're having to use kind of storytelling in your head to get the customer to imagine why they need this product. So a good thing for somebody that moves from selling physical cars into the more intangible products such as F&I, of course, is to have that skill or learn that skill of how to sell by painting pictures, and let's suppose this was to happen, and how would you feel about that? So that is a definite key requirement when you want to have success in today's market with selling some of those products that only work when you find yourself in challenging times, such as tar and alloy and things like those. So that's key. And process. It's been said a million times before, and this won't be new for your viewers, but have a good process that's embedded in your business, that everyone buys into and nobody's excluded from, and every single customer goes through, just like your McDonald's analogy. Simon, it's so important that we don't make the decisions for the customer makes the decisions themselves. So to answer your question, process and an intellect where you enjoy selling by kind of painting pictures.
Yeah. If I can go back to the Pat Ryan days as well, I was shown, I can't remember the name of the person, but it was the first cash conversion. And I always thought that, hold on, this customer's rich. I was a young salesperson. Of course they're rich. They're just paying the money for it, not realizing that no one really does. They're borrowing the money for a bank or a credit union in a different country or something like that there. And I remember some of the cash conversions there were just so clever, so simple. Now, I can say as an industry, we didn't really use cash conversions for years because interest rates were so low. But I tell you what, it still works today, doesn't it? Some of those same ideas.
100%. For that small pot of customers, you're absolutely right to say, cars are funded, right? Let's be clear
Yes,
on that.
of course they
are. And often doing a cash conversion to a customer that says they're cash, but actually they're borrowing the money, doesn't work because they can't understand what we're talking about. So qualification's the key to this one by the salesperson qualifying the customer right. But to pick up on your point, 100%. I think if I look back on my LinkedIn posts, it was about a year ago when we saw interest rates going back to proper positives like where they are today. I did a post about cash conversions are back. Polish up on your skills.
Yeah.
Back into the compound interest.
Yeah.
And those things. And I wonder, my LinkedIn posts aren't going to change the world, but I wonder how many people picked up on that and actually went out there and did it. Because now if you are fortunate enough to have a pot of cash, I certainly wouldn't be buying a car with it. I'd be doing something that would generate good incomes with it. So
I've seen another social media post recently. In fact, I was on the course. Someone said, "Have a look at this guy." He summed it very well, and I'll get this wrong, I'm sure, but he said, "There's this guy that's got a corner shop. Okay, a guy called Jeff. He's done all right with this corner shop, and he's bought himself a house recently. When I say a house, it's attached to an island. Okay, and it was 180 million. His shop's called Amazon. Jeff, Mr. Bezos, when he bought this house, do you think he got a mortgage on it? And of course, you're thinking, well, no, he's Jeff Bezos. I think he'll be right. But of course, he got a mortgage on his last property. And it says, well, why would he not? When the mortgage was something like 2.8%, and his Amazon shares were, I don't know, earning something like 6%. How mad would he be not to do it? And it's just a lovely little post. And I know I'm not doing that justice, but the way it was worded very well about this little man had a corner shop, did all right. Okay. But one of the richest people in the world still understands the power of using other people's money.
Sure.
And that really resonated for me.
Yeah, yeah. So cash conversions, I'm with you. Yeah, you and I can go out there and deliver training on that, Simon, and help people, enhance their finance penetration. Sure.
So how do we go from training, working with Pat Ryan Associates there, and deciding how do people like you and I think, right, I want to row my own boat. I want to start off with myself then. Big scary step sometimes. I can remember my first month I gave up a decent job, started my own business. I did exactly 1 day's training, Ashley. Said to my wife, yeah, don't worry, it'll be fine. 1 whole day in September. I thought, what have I done here? Tell me about why did you decide to row your own boat?
Well, it's like a lot of people that end up working for themselves, Simon. I was forced into it because I came to the end of a contract abroad in Europe, actually, with GE Capital. And that contract kind of finished. So I found myself out of a job in essence. And this was back in the millennium, 2000, 2001-ish. And I needed a job. And is it okay to say names in here?
Yeah, of course it is. Yeah.
So somebody that you'll know very well, Simon. So I needed a job, I had bills to pay. I was like Jeff, I had a mortgage, yeah.
Yeah.
So myself and my business partner at the time, Andy, who I know you know very well, we found ourselves out of work. So we was doing a bit of market research on should we set up a training business. And so we phoned people that we worked with in the past. And it was actually Gabriel Keane in Windsor, in Ireland, in the Republic of Ireland. And we'd worked with Gabriel whilst being employed at GE on the training side of things. And we said, Gabriel, we're just doing some market research. We're thinking of setting up on our own, setting up a training business. Just, we'd value your opinion on it. What do you think? And he said, for sure, guys, send me, and it was punts in those days, send me an invoice for 10,000 punts. And we said, thanks, Gabriel. It was just after some kind of advice and would you work with us in the future type or some pointers. And he says, yeah, as I said, send me an invoice for 10,000. We said, no, Gabriel, we're not asking for a loan or asking for money. He said, it's not a loan. Send me an invoice for 10,000 and that'll get you going. And then we'll work the detail out later.
Wow.
So we got off the phone call and we had to learn how to write an invoice, Simon, because we'd never done this before, right?
Yeah.
And then we had to think about invoicing in different currencies because we'd never done that, obviously. Yeah. So I fundamentally applaud Gabriel Keane.
Wow.
Who's got his own dealer group in Ireland, as we know, for taking a leap of faith in us. And he actually kind of directly started us up trading by putting us in a positive cash flow. We could pay the bills for a couple of months, right? That was the good. So that's how it started. Yeah, it wasn't something that was always on my radar. It was a set of circumstances, and as we all know, life is going to sound like Forrest Gump here, but life is those set of circumstances, right? And you're given a set of circumstances, and it's how you choose to play them. We owe Gabriel for that big time.
Yeah, but you know what? There'll be some people saying you were lucky there, and listen, I do believe in luck, but you create your own luck. You picked up the phone and spoke to him. You actually said, I want to do some market research there. Okay. And also, you did a really good job for him in the past. For him to have the trust in you, just say, send me the invoice for 10,000. We'll sort the details out later. They trusted you. So you really earned your own luck there. And I sometimes, I do get people looking at, listen, we both work with lots of people like John O'Hanlon, okay? Absolutely built a brilliant business there. People like Gavin Hydes in Ireland is building a great business there. And I do get people say, almost with envy, well, they're lucky. You think, no, you don't know the hours these guys work, the dedication, the hard work they've put into it to get where they are there. And I really do believe you make your luck in this world.
Sure.
Who was it? Gary Player said the more I practice, the luckier I get. Is that the right phrase?
100%. Yeah.
It is absolutely amazing. So you've been doing this for, it's got to be since 2000, was it?
Yeah, 2000, 2001. You're making me feel young, Simon. Yeah, so quite a few years now. Got a few scars, a few moments of joy, but it's a wonderful industry to work in. Couldn't imagine doing anything else, to be quite frank. Yeah.
Right. Listen, I want to get into some nitty gritties about how you think the world's changing in the motor trade, what's going to happen. Firstly,
Sure.
let's talk about the rise and fall of some of the disruptors. Okay.
Okay.
We're recording this in June 2024. In the UK, the likes of Kazoo has the rise and fall of Kazoo. This is a company for people outside of the UK, had a flotation of 6.5 billion, I think it was, in New York Stock Exchange, and they've folded. There were so many other disruptions. The cinch of the world is more of a marketplace. But a lot of these people are saying that the motor trade has to change. They were saying that we were dinosaurs. I think was the exact phrase that the man from Kazoo actually turned around and used. How have these people changed the way that we buy and sell cars?
Simon, I think markets change, right? In any industry, not just our industry, of course. But I think the thing that I'll always remember is that the market is self-cleansing as well. So, middle-aged people get old, young people get middle-aged. So your customer base cleanses itself all the time. So maybe what worked for me back in the 80s and 90s as a customer in terms of the way I bought cars, by the boots on the floor, getting in the showroom, visiting 5 dealerships, enjoying the whole process and negotiating, loving a good haggle, those sort of things. And now as I move through, life, now I look at the next generation of customers that you're going to be selling to for the next 20, 30 and 40 years. And I'm very fortunate to have a 19 and a 20-year-old son, at home in the house. So I've got the best market research you could ever want. And I look at how they buy things, and they are completely different to the things I've just described. And my sons are absolutely this, and it turns up. And if I'm on a rare day off and we want to go and look at a shiny new car, do you want to come with me and have a look, boys? And they just don't seem that interested. So I can see why those disruptors thought that there's a gold mine here and they can revolutionize the world and the way that we sell by moving to that online click and buy only experience. But clearly that isn't the case. But what they did do, of course, was sharpen up the retailers that we currently have. And let's not forget, you mentioned a few names there. We're very fortunate. We have some super sharp operators, entrepreneurial business people in this country and wherever in the world people are viewing your podcast from, that kind of react quick, and they are bloody good at what they do. So, maybe that taught them just to sharpen up on their digital interaction and how they manage that. So Kazoo, it's an awful shame when the disruptor, doesn't go full circle where they want it to, but we always learn from it, and it helps along the way. And the people that say, anything different to that, I think it's a shame, because they've got their blinkers on, and they should probably spend their energy looking internally at how they could kind of look at how they treat their customers or sell to their customers.
Yeah, I think what the disruptors did, they had lots of advertising, and maybe they've changed the way that people not necessarily bought a car, but the amount of information they can get and what they expect before they come to us. I have a 21-year-old and a 18-year-old, so 2 boys as well. And it just resonated with me when you said they don't want to go into a dealership. It's like, if you can't get it on an Amazon delivery by tomorrow, forget that next one, because they want it now. They just want to click on it and get it there. And I think the customers just want information. They want so much information on the car. And I was taught when I started years ago, don't give the customer what they want till you get what you want. It's an exchange of information. I don't believe that anymore, because, the customer will get that information somewhere else.
Sure.
They will. Now, having said that, some of the people listen to a podcast I did recently where buying a car sometimes can be hard work. If you're a consumer and you're old like me, I'm 50 now. And if I walk into a dealership to go and want to buy a car, I urge people listening to this that maybe that's a real customer. Okay. I know most of our customers start with the email first and the phone call, and they're all pre-qualified before you speak to them. But again, don't prejudge. There are some old people out there who still buy cars by wanting to touch it and drive it and take it for a run. But In fact, actually, I'll get your views. After COVID, you didn't have to be a genius to sell a used car, did you? You didn't have to be a genius to sell a new car. But I've got to say that's we're going into a push market now. I really do think the manufacturers are pushing things. I think it's time for us to get back down to slowing the process down, back to good old-fashioned basics.
Sure.
Good old-fashioned basics, is it still as relevant today as it was when we started?
Even more so, Simon, when you describe, rightly so, things like push markets, you know, and well, I know the time of day we're shooting this now, so all of the morning sales meetings will have just taken place in every single dealership up and down the country, right? They would have done them without fail. Of course, that didn't happen. So get back to basics. Get the team together every morning. You know, 100% that's what it's about. Have the wash up from yesterday. Who did we see yesterday? Where are we at to? What we're doing? You know, I actually inquired about a new car a week ago. You know, with the capital allowances that are on offer at the moment in the UK, it's brilliant. You know, 100% on EV.
100%. Yep.
And here I am a week later with tiny information, and not the phone call. It's just been managed over email. They've got my phone number. You can see it on my email footer, but they've not picked the phone call up. And that's such a shame in today's push market. So your question was, it is back to basics, times 10. And the ones that can do that, roll up their sleeves and work it, will be absolutely fine, of course. But the ones that don't do that will not get the ratios and the numbers that they look for.
But why does that not work? Why does someone not pick up the phone and say, hello, Mr. Wiltshire, it's Simon here from XYZ EV company. Let me talk about that new i5. Okay, well, why? I don't get why a salesperson would want to do it, but here's because I'm 50. I have a 21-year-old, an 18-year-old. They prefer just to do chat and text, and would I have to actually speak to someone? But maybe they're forgetting that you'd probably prefer to have someone speak to you. And
well, we would definitely transition a lot quicker, you know, if that happened. But yeah, obviously I won't mention more on that. But yeah, back to basics, back to basics, back to basics. You know, look at your numbers and start with a target. How many vehicles do you need to sell each month? Know your conversion ratios. So if you've got that number, the old classic sales funnel, working upwards, how many people do you need to be talking to? Have we got that walk-in, that inquiry level? If we haven't, where am I going to get it from? You know, and there's so much resource in our dealerships, as we know. The service diary still presents huge opportunities. Who's in your workshops today, spending money, servicing their 3 or 4-year-old car that you can have a conversation with? There's probably a handful of opportunities out there today that if you just walk over there and speak with your after-sales manager, you can mine some of those opportunities. Basics, basics, basics. Yeah, definitely.
So I want to get your views on the agency sales model. We know that Mercedes-Benz has gone agency in the UK. We know that the Volkswagen Audi Group are going down that route. BMW are as well, all different dates coming within the next 12 months and some by the end of the year. Some, like JLR, have publicly said we're not going to go down the agency route. I think it's a tide that we're not going to stop. Is agency going to be good news, bad news for the dealers listening to this? And if it's coming, what do we have to do to prepare for it?
Two good probing questions, Simon. So I like you, I look at what manufacturers are doing, and one that caught my attention a lot was Volvo. So Volvo went to agency last summer, as we know. I think they called it the flip. You know, one day it was wholesale, the next day it was agency. And what I like about the transition in the brand of Volvo is it plays beautifully to all customers. So you mentioned us more mature, even though we're young, Simon, us more mature, and our kids are in their 18s, 19s, and 20s. And the great thing with that is, you know, you can go on that Volvo website, you can start your customer journey, absolutely populate it with your information. So that appeals to a lot of customers. And then when you do transition into the dealership, you know, the data's captured and they just pick up where you left off. So I'll leave all the accountants to work out return on investments and margins and you know, the benefits of no stocking charges versus stocking charges. I'll leave all that to the really clever people on that one. But from a consumer point of view, yeah, I think it works. And then, of course, you get into that transparent pricing.
Hmm.
Once we've all come to terms, like the old Apple model, the iPad is 499, that's what it is, or probably a lot more than that now.
Yeah.
Once we've got conditioned to the price you see is the price you pay, I think we all go, because remember, you and I love to haggle.
Yep.
Maybe that's something we enjoy in sales process, but my kids don't.
Yeah.
Is that your best price? Well, yeah, that is the price. Okay, and they buy. So, so I think agency represents clearly a lot of ease and transparency for customers of the future, and we've just got to get it on board and get it working. So yeah, I see it as a good thing. Many are going live with agency next year. You're talking about, you asked how do we prepare for it.
Yep.
So I know many are putting a massive investment into training the whole network, which starts in October and runs right through to, I think, February next year. So you can't do this halfway house. Yeah, if you're going to go agency, you've got to embrace it. You've got to get some training on board. You've got to do the hearts and minds piece. You've got to help salespeople understand how this is going to benefit the consumer and how it will work for them. And then all things being equal, you have a great success with it.
Yeah. And now with agency, how does it affect the F&I role then? Because listen, lots of time on a new car, the business manager's role, it's done by the manufacturer anyway, with a finance deposit contributions or allowances or chassis bonuses, they have to be called nowadays. Is there actually a position for a business manager in the modern dealership under agency?
Sure. Well, we know that, as you mentioned, today the funding of it is a key ingredient. There's probably 5 key ingredients in buying a new vehicle, and of course the affordability, the monthly payment is critical. Of course it is. So it's a much more integrated approach. Whereas we go back to when I was a business manager, you had the classic referral from the salesperson to your desk.
Yep.
And then you would, deliver your presentations. But now it's built in, and it's right on the front end from the get-go. Budget, 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 budget. So, is there a role for F&I in the future? 5,000%, because it's clear you can't sell vehicles without F&I, or a very small percentage of customers genuinely have cash. So it's good that manufacturers have got on board with that, with deposit contributions, special offers. Fixed price rates, so kind of an agency model there, nice transparency. So definitely a huge opportunity remains for F&I.
But does the business manager, though, from when we were business managers back then, it's a completely different role now because it has to be built in so early, and because there is transparency, the salesperson's talking about all F&I throughout. Does the business manager become, dare I say it, and I know I'm going to get lots of comments on this, the glorified administrator, though?
Simon, how I'd answer that is with a real example. So I'm fortunate enough to work with privately owned dealer groups, and one in mind doesn't have business managers. Okay, so they'll have the transaction manager role, the TM role.
Yep.
And another dealer group I work with does have business managers, and they're very focused on having business managers. Now, what's interesting is both of those dealer groups, make good profit. I think it's safe to say they punch above the quoted return on sales that most dealer groups talk about, and they do it differently, but they both do very well. But what both of those examples do is embrace a set of F&I behaviors. So whether they do it as a standalone traditional business manager role, and the group I'm talking about has 9 business managers, or whereas another group I work with don't have business managers, do it as a transaction manager, they both get a success out of it. So that comes down to the vision of the owner of the business, really, and their commitment to it. There's a cost in having a business manager. It's a salary, but clearly it's a beneficial thing to do. That leads beautifully into products like Gap, of course, some of the value-added products. And I can see why some people are now starting to question the validity of the business manager model. I think there's still a good future for it personally. And I'm not just being romantic because my career was heavily bolstered there. Gap's a great product. Let's be clear on that. And I do hope it comes back mainstream in car dealerships. So many customers, and I can't quote you on the stats, have benefited from it. in the past. So, I'm sure they'll sort that hullabaloo out and get that back in the showrooms as quick as possible. I really, really hope that happens.
Back that people who listen to this outside of the UK, gap insurance was the regulator. The FCA said that we're not allowed to sell it. Was it February this year? I think it was 7th of February is the date I have in my mind. That we're reviewing the product. I believe it's coming back. I don't know as dealers how many will offer it. My concern is there might not be enough reward for the risk, depending on the value that we sell it at. I don't know yet. We'll have to wait and see what comes out with this. But I'm with you. It's a product I believe in. I think it's good. But if it doesn't come back, we still need to fill the gap of gap, because it was a great profit opportunity for a dealer. And I think it was great for the customer as well. But I don't know. In your views, do you think dealers, if they're told that what they could sell it at, will there be enough profit in it to make it worthwhile? Will we just look at more tire and alloy and smart products as opposed to that? What's your view on where that's going to go?
Well, I do hope it comes back. Firstly, I stand shoulder to shoulder with you on that. As a consumer, it's a great product.
Yeah.
So, and I guess there's a range, isn't there? There are some businesses, let's say that were selling gap that cost them this, and they sold it for that. So I think there's the crux of it. Conversely, there are other dealer groups out there that I'm fortunate enough to have worked with over the years that, gap cost them this, and they sold it for that. So they've made a smaller margin out of it. So definitely it can work. It's one of the products that's consumer centric, should be promoted. You're in a dealership buying a car. It's a product that looks after you when things go wrong with your car. So absolutely, let's get it back in the showrooms, but priced sensibly. With a margin on it. You can't expect people to sell products for no benefit. You have to make profit in a dealership. We know that. So yeah, I believe there's a big market for gap there. Just get the numbers right, get the metrics right. A smaller margin on it, and it's a great value-added product.
Yeah, and I've got to say there was mis-selling, okay? And we know in the industry there were people saying, and the great news is that's fully protected. The first time the customer knew they had this stuff was on handover, which is wrong in every way. And I got so frustrated because when you show a customer what gap is, what it does, when you compare the cover they get compared to what they pay on their comprehensive vehicle insurance, it is such good value. We don't. I'm sure there are people out there that missold it and jammed it in. We know it's happened, but they were few and far between. I really do think if you show people what this product is, what it does, and how it benefits people, guess what? Funny enough, like the old McDonald's adage, some people say, "Go on, I'll go large. Go on, that makes sense." And I'm gonna say, as a consumer myself, I believe in it. Sure. My cars have gap on it because I just think it's a good product there.
Simon, that goes full circle to a couple of your questions earlier. Back to basics, sales process. Is it a business manager program or is it kind of a transaction manager program? Don't really mind which one it is, but if you are a business manager program, great. You know that you're presenting 100% of your products, the McDonald's model, to 100% of your customers 100% of the time. And if you're a transaction or a controlling type sales model, then the transaction manager or sales controller must get out there and second face all customers. Yes. To question them, why haven't you taken advantage of some of the products that Simon's presented to you? We want to make sure you have a great experience, or congratulate them for taking the product. So make sure that they know they've got it. So there's a space here, and whichever model you use, just back to basics. Business managers will be presenting it. Transaction managers definitely should be second facing it.
Any manager listen to this. If you want to make a mark very quickly in your department, please just make sure you double close, second face, call it what you want, 100% of your customers 100% of the time. It's the easiest way that you will make an impact. And it's so simple. What happens is one of the reasons fundamentals why people buy things, fundamentals of comparison. To feel like they got a good deal, they need to compare it to something else. That's why agency, going down to the Apple model, if the iPad is $499, as you said before, and it's everywhere $499. I've done my comparison. It's the same price everywhere else. However, currently, if it's different prices everywhere, people don't know if it's a good deal or not. They need to compare it to something else. If your salesperson just presents the deal, the customer has no idea if it's the best deal.
Sure.
So they have to say, I need to think about it. They need to go and compare it to something else. Especially when you look at the trading. If a customer says, got 14,500, is that really the best one to get to it? Even as a manager, you come out there and just reconfirm what your salesperson's already said. It's a second expert. You can do it. It's the way I start out. Let's say, Ashley, you go to a doctor. Okay, they do a blood test on you, urine test, they do all that. Right, sorry about this, Ashley. Here's your results. This is the issue we need to fix. You might want a second opinion. Does that second opinion have to come from a separate hospital? No, it only has to come from a separate expert within the hospital.
Sure.
Managers, listen to this. You're the second expert. Please, 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 just second face every single customer, every single time. That you do training, and I just, it doesn't happen enough, Ashley.
Sure. I love your passion on that one. Yeah, got to be done. Got to be done.
So talking about out there, what makes a great training? And I have managed to survive in this industry for a long time. Dare say we've had our same clients. I've had one client for the whole period. You've had the same as well. I know John O'Hanlon wouldn't be using unless you're doing a great job. What makes a great trainer in you? What are some of the character traits for a really good trainer?
Well, you've got to be keen on solving problems and enjoy the benefits that you get from that, and seeing people and teams move forward. And that's where you get your kicks in this job, isn't it? Helping people and seeing their careers develop and move forward is just a great feeling, and it's hard to quantify that. Of course, we've got to pay the bills, so there's normally an invoice somewhere in the pipeline.
Yes.
But yeah, being people orientated, it's a natural extension. If anyone's thinking of moving into a training role out there, it's a natural extension from a sales role. It's a natural extension from F&I because that's intangible products again. And we use those same skills in the classroom because, in essence, I often refer to myself as a salesperson in the classroom because I am, rather than the people in the room that sell cars or F&I or products and services. We're just selling concepts and ideas.
So true.
Fundamentally, we're salespeople just to a bigger family. It could be 12 or 30 people in the room. So yeah, a joy and a passion for sales is a big thing, definitely. That will take you a long way, of course. And then, of course, as you know, Simon, you have to be up for working hard. Sometimes people perceive it to be an easy role, but like you, I often get in the vehicle on a Sunday afternoon and I'll return home on a Friday night, fingers crossed. And you're away all week because clients don't come to you. You have to go to them, and that makes an awful lot of sense. Of course, you want to minimize the travel time for your audience. So we take on the legwork, right? So be up for some hard work, enjoy sales, like working with people, and love a positive challenge, because you never know who's going to walk through that door sometimes in terms of the classroom. And someone might be having a bad day and being told they've got to go on a training course. Sadly, they've not had a pre-brief. Their manager might have dropped the ball and just got them there. And, they're not in the best frame of mind, and you have to work a little bit harder with people like that. But
don't you love the challenge, though, when you turn them around?
Yeah, it's hugely good. Yeah.
For me, you hit the nail on the head. When you have that audience in front of you, 12 to 30 people, I want to close every one of them. I just want to, and that's I don't think I've ever closed everyone on every course I've ever done, but that's my aim. That's what I try to do. And it's quite funny. The other thing, you must get this, and it happened to me just on Friday. I had a salesperson, good salesperson, out in Enniscorthy Island, and I thought you'll know where that is.
Yep.
And he said, "Oh, you've got a good job, haven't you? You don't have to work Saturdays. Okay, that's brilliant. Look at this. You finished the course at 5:30. What a job." And why do they always pick it on the days where Ryanair was delayed? I didn't get on the flight until 12:30 at night, and when I was walking in at 2:30 in the morning, and I just, it's a good job. You finish at 5:30. Now, don't get me wrong, I do love the job. Okay, but the travel, hey, it's hard work sometimes. So if you want to be a trainer, we're looking to employ a trainer at the moment, and I tell you, actually, it's hard work. People, the amount of times I say, why do you want to look at training? And when they start saying, oh, I'm looking for an easier life, I'm looking for more time with my family, I'm looking for, and it's like, unfortunately, they just don't see it. And maybe we just make the job look easy. Maybe that's what it is. They don't see all the other side of the business.
You're right. And Simon, you say we make the job look easy, and that is the job, isn't it? That's what we should do, because when a customer walks into a car dealership, they shouldn't see the challenges that dealership's got going on behind the scenes, whether they've got a valeter off sick today, or they're a technician short, or the administrator's on holiday or whatever. No customer should feel that in a dealership.
No.
And it's the same for you and I. So you and I will be there at 10 o'clock the night before, refreshing a training program. I'll be there, you'll be there on a Saturday and Sunday, writing, printing, binding workbooks, and doing invoicing and admin and VAT quarters and all that sort of stuff that nobody sees. They just see the 9 to 5 in the classroom. And you're absolutely right. They shouldn't see that, because that's the consumer experience that you and I deliver. So it's a beautiful double-edged sword, that one. It's perceived as an easy job. It absolutely isn't. But yeah, good luck with finding your new trainer. I'm afraid I have no one to recommend. It's really hard to find people.
They are. It is so true. It's and listen, I get it, because we spend so much time away from our family. Okay, but the rewards of the job are brilliant. I do absolutely love it, where you get, and you've been there. You get that salesperson. So now I had a business somewhere, and you think, I started them with their journey, and look where they are now. And I just get a huge buzz out of that. Tell me, did you have any mentors along the way? Have you been in any training programs? I know the N88 conference, you see other people out there that you think, wow, I really like that. Any mentors stick out for you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I would, hot tip, not that people are asking for hot tips, but is get yourself a mentor. So I do have a mentor. Let's call him Tim, because his name is Tim. It's
Okay.
someone that's been in my life. He lives in Surrey, and I check in with him regular. And he's a beautifully commercially minded individual, and he's got a strength of character where he'll look me in the eyes and tell me what I need to know, even though sometimes it's not kind of what I wanted to hear. So Tim is my mentor, and on the management development programs that I promote and deliver personally, I don't outsource, I work with as opposed to outsource. I always build that into the programs, and some delegates that I'm training that are looking to be aspiring managers take it on board and say, well, how do I get a mentor? I says, well, it's just someone that inspires you. And then you go and ask them, how would you feel if would you mind mentoring and coaching and supporting me? And they take it as a compliment, because it is a compliment. And you could flip it back over to car sales. When you're handing the car over to a customer on handover day, is don't forget to ask them for a referral. Who else in your circle of friends or family would benefit from the level of service that I've extended to you today? Here's a pen and paper. Have you got anybody? So it's exactly the same for us. Go and get a mentor. So yeah, mine's called Tim. Yes, there's people that's inspired me through my career. You've mentioned John O'Hanlon, an inspirational a business operator. Always keep a close eye on John, and the people like that I meet through my career. Yeah, definitely.
Can you talk me through some of your leadership development programs you're doing, your future leader programs that you're doing?
Yeah, so I'm working with a couple of clients, something I'm really passionate about and I enjoy. The bottom line is top talent won't stay in a company if the leaders of that business don't have their growth on the radar. So I really urge every company to have some type of management development program, aspiring manager program, future leaders program. It should be an invitation. That's what I endorse with my clients. So you apply to go on a program like this. Then there's some type of gateway exercise. Some criteria to achieve if you're going to take a seat on the program. And then we take them through. It's normally 12 months. It's normally bi-monthly, a couple of days every other month. around management principles, understanding the business, commercial awareness, delivering training programs, process, attitude, writing business plans, a little charity event dropped in there, and space over a year with a pass mark assigned to it. And it helps a business get ready for its next growth expansion. So they've got people in their talent pool ready to promote that they know are great. And I'm very fortunate to work with 1, 2, 3 clients that have that in place now, Mr. O'Hanlon being one of those. And he's a big supporter of that. Because the bottom line is when people leave a business, it's their fault. It's the manager's fault. So programs like this keep people in a company. It reduces employee churn, and it's a great indicator as well. If you look at employee satisfaction as a KPI, it's often a good indicator for your customer experience as well. So yeah, big fan of MDPs or FLPs or aspiring programs, and a lot of opportunity for them in this market.
Yeah, and I'm going to say programs like that have it just works. It absolutely works. Instead of having to go out to open market and try and employ people, it's very difficult. And I suppose we're the same looking for a trainer. We would normally employ a trainer who's not been a trainer, and we like to develop them. And like yourself, we go on so many courses ourselves now because we have to. We probably go on more training than anyone else does because we have to there. And it's grow your people. I just love those future leader programs there. How do people get hold of you? Ashley, what's the easiest way to get hold of you?
The best way to get hold of me, Simon, is something I'm passionate about, is via LinkedIn. You and I converse on there frequently. So yeah, LinkedIn's a great portal, great for B2B. So yeah, please find me there.
So that's Ashley Wiltshire. Ashley, I really enjoyed that conversation today. Is there anything I should have asked you? Is there anything that I've missed out that I should have been asking?
No, Simon, just we should have done this years ago, my friend.
This is true. We're well and truly overdue that beer. So we need to catch up there because we're all in the same circles all the time there. So that sounds like a great idea.
Thank you for your time. It's been great seeing you.
Good to see you, Ashley. Bye.
Take care.
That just leaves me to say that all details of this episode and other episodes on the selling in the motor trade can be found on our website, simcotraining.co.uk. Go there to get a copy of our book, Words That Sell Cars. Go there to sign up to a free trial of our Sales Fitness online sales training program. Easiest way to get hold of me is Simon Bowkett through LinkedIn. Thank you.